welcome to this deep dive.
Yeah.
All about call scoring and
Yeah.
really how it can just revolutionize sales performance. For all of you listening,
Right.
we've gotten a ton of material on this topic. I'm really excited to unpack it all with our expert, Nova. And Nova, you really know quite a bit about this whole world of leveraging AI and data to boost sales outcomes.
I do. It's a passion of mine.
You know,
Hey.
as sales leaders, I think we're all constantly trying to figure out, what's really happening in those conversations
Yeah.
between our reps and potential customers.
Yeah.
And today, we're going to explore just how call scoring can give us that clarity, especially with all the advancements we're seeing in AI.
That's right. Call scoring really allows us to go beyond, just those gut feelings and assumptions and actually understand what's driving success and, equally importantly, what's holding us back.
Yeah. So let's start with the basics here. What exactly is call scoring?
I think of it as a way to evaluate sales calls against a set of performance standards. We're not just talking about whether the call resulted in a sale, but really digging into the quality of the interaction, the rep's performance, and the customer's experience.
So it's like a report card for your sales calls.
Precisely. And it can leverage both qualitative and quantitative analysis. So qualitative analysis might look at things like active listening, empathy, rapport building, whereas quantitative analysis focuses more on things like talk ratio, the number of questions asked, or the time spent discussing key features.
Okay, now this sounds a lot like lead scoring to me. What's the difference?
That's a great question. A lot of people get those two confused. It's an important distinction because lead scoring is all about prioritizing your leads based on their online actions, their behaviors, really. It helps you identify those hottest prospects. Whereas call scoring focuses specifically on what happens during the conversation itself.
Okay, so lead scoring is telling us who to target, and then call scoring is showing us how to win them over.
You got it. They're both really essential pieces of the sales puzzle.
Okay, so for our sales leaders out there who are thinking, all right, this sounds interesting, but why should I care?
Yeah.
Why should they care about call scoring? What's the big deal?
It's all about actionable insights. Insights that can improve your sales performance significantly. You can finally understand the true intent behind a customer's call. You can identify specific areas where your reps excel or where they need improvement and just get a clear picture of what's actually happening in those conversations.
So instead of just relying on our gut feelings, we can base our coaching, our strategy decisions on real data.
Exactly. And that means more effective coaching, better sales strategies, and ultimately more closed deals.
Okay, so it sounds like this can also be a huge time saver. I'm thinking about all those nights I've spent listening to hours of call recordings trying to figure out what went right or wrong.
You and me both. With these automated call scoring tools, though, you can get really concise summaries of the key takeaways from each call. Things like the main topics that were discussed, action items identified, and just the overall sentiment of the conversation, so you can quickly understand what happened without having to listen to every single second of the recording.
All right, so we know what call scoring is, but how do companies actually do it? What are the different methods that are out there?
There are a few different approaches, and they each have their pros and cons. The traditional manual approach, where someone actually listens to the call and scores it based on a predefined rubric, can be very accurate. Because humans are great at picking up on nuance, but obviously it's really time-consuming, and it's not very scalable.
That makes sense. So then there's keyword-based call scoring, where software scans the call transcript for specific keywords or phrases. So it's looking for those magic words that indicate a successful call.
Right. It's much faster, more scalable than manual scoring, but you can definitely miss out on some important context.
Okay. And then lastly, we have generative AI-based call scoring.
Yeah.
Which I think is the most advanced approach.
Right. Generative AI can understand the full context of a conversation much like a human would, analyzing not just the words, but also the tone of voice, the sentiment, even those pauses and silences that really speak volumes.
It's almost like having a digital sales coach then that can pick up on all those subtle cues that we as humans might miss.
You got it. It's the best of both worlds, really. You get the accuracy of manual scoring with the speed and the scalability of technology.
It seems like AI is really revolutionizing how we approach sales, not just with call scoring, but like across the board.
Totally. AI is really allowing us to move away from guesswork and really embrace this data-driven decision-making, which is so essential for sales leaders in today's competitive landscape.
So before we dive deeper into that AI side of things, let's take a step back. For those companies that are just starting out with call scoring, what are some of the best practices that they should keep in mind?
One of the most important things is to make sure your reps are involved in the process. Encourage them to self-score their own calls.
That's a really good idea because it kind of shifts that focus from being judged to taking ownership of their own development.
Absolutely. It helps them build self-awareness
Mm.
and, promotes a growth mindset. And don't forget about gathering customer feedback as well. Things like post-call surveys. Those can give you invaluable insights into the customer experience.
Okay, any other tips for our listeners?
One other really important thing is to make sure that the feedback is objective. And it's focused on the call itself, not on the individual rep. That helps create a much more positive, productive learning environment.
Right. And then lastly,
hmm
make sure the feedback is timely. The sooner after the call, the better. It really helps those reps connect the dots between their actions and the outcomes, which is crucial for learning and improvement.
Those are some fantastic tips. So now let's circle back to this AI revolution that you mentioned. Can you give us some concrete examples of how AI-powered call scoring is really changing the game for sales teams? Absolutely. Let's focus on a few key areas where AI is making a real difference.
Okay, let's dive in.
So first, AI can really help ensure that your sales strategy is being executed consistently across the board. You might have this brilliant strategy on paper, but how do you know your reps are actually implementing it effectively in their calls?
Yeah, that's a challenge that I think every single sales leader faces.
Right, and AI can really help you address that challenge. It analyzes every single call, flags areas where your reps might be deviating from the plan. It's almost like having a digital coach listening in to every single conversation, making sure your strategy is being put into action.
Okay, so AI is helping to keep everyone on message. What else?
Another key area is really turning those top performers into the norm. You know those rock star reps
Right.
that seem to effortlessly crush their quotas?
Of course, every team has a few of them.
Right, but wouldn't it be amazing if we could replicate their success across the entire team?
It's like they have this secret formula that's so hard to decipher.
Right, and AI call scoring can really help unlock that secret formula by analyzing the calls of those top performers. AI can pinpoint those specific tactics and those behaviors that drive their success.
So it's almost like data mining those top performing calls to find those little golden nuggets of wisdom.
You got it. And once you've identified those winning tactics, you can use that insight to coach and train the rest of your team.
That's brilliant. It's all about really democratizing success and using data to create a more
Such a
consistent.
high-performing sales
Rich selling.
culture. Exactly. And the great thing is, AI can do this at scale, analyzing thousands of calls, identifying those patterns that humans might miss.
I'm loving this. It sounds like AI can really take our sales game to the next level.
Absolutely, and there's even more.
Oh, there's more. I'm all ears.
AI can help you stay ahead of the curve in a market that's constantly changing. Customer needs evolve, new competitors emerge, and yesterday's winning strategy might be totally obsolete tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a fast-paced world out there.
It is, and AI call scoring can really help you keep up by analyzing calls in real time. AI can detect those emerging trends and patterns. Maybe customers are suddenly asking about a feature that wasn't on their radar before. Or maybe they're voicing new concerns about a competitor you hadn't even considered. This real-time insight allows you to adapt your strategy, your messaging, and even your product development efforts, just to stay ahead of the game.
This is incredibly valuable. It's almost like having a crystal ball that gives you this glimpse into the future of your market.
Exactly. Think about Amazon and their customer-centric approach. They're constantly analyzing customer interactions to really understand what people want and what they need.
I see what you mean. It's all about using data to anticipate those customer needs and to stay one step ahead.
Absolutely. And there's one more crucial area where AI can really help: keeping deals on track.
Oh, that's a big one. It's so easy for deals to get lost in the shuffle, especially when you're managing a large sales pipeline.
You're right. AI-powered call scoring, when it's integrated with your CRM system, can act like an early warning system for your sales pipeline. By analyzing the call data, detecting those subtle warning signs, a drop in customer engagement, a shift in sentiment, AI can really alert you to those potential problems before they derail the entire deal.
So it's like having a digital safety net for your entire sales team.
Exactly.
This is really eye-opening, Nova. I'm seeing the potential here, not just for individual reps,
Yeah,
but for transforming an entire sales operation.
that's exactly right. It's about moving beyond gut feelings and really embracing that data-driven approach to sales success. And that's what AI-powered call scoring enables you to do.
This has been incredibly insightful, Nova. Thank you for sharing all of this with us.
What pleasure.
We're just getting started, though. In part 2 of this deep dive, we're going to explore that practical side of call scoring. how to set up a system, choose the right metrics, and leverage all these powerful AI tools to maximize your team's potential. So stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back. Welcome back to this deep dive. We're fired up to continue our exploration of call scoring, but now we're shifting gears to get a little bit more practical.
That's right. We're going to delve into actually setting up a system, choosing the right metrics, and using those AI tools to turn those insights into actual results.
Less theory, more action. Just what our sales and revenue leader audience needs. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of implementation, I think it's important to address the difference between using call scoring as a management tool versus, fostering that culture where reps embrace it for self-improvement.
That's crucial. Too often, call scoring gets a bad rap because it's seen as big brother-ish, a way for managers to micromanage their team.
Exactly. It becomes about surveillance and punishment rather than about learning and growth.
Right. But when you empower your reps to use call scoring for self-coaching and for peer-to-peer feedback, it's a whole different ballgame.
Absolutely. Imagine your sales team, actively listening to their own calls, identifying areas for improvement, and sharing tips and best practices with each other.
It's like that saying, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime.
I love that. Call scoring, when done right, can turn your reps into lifelong learners who are constantly improving their game. And you know what? That frees up managers to focus on those high-level tasks, knowing that their team is proactively engaged in their own development.
It's a win-win for everyone. So let's talk about how to actually make that happen. Step 1, define your objectives. What do you actually want to achieve with call scoring?
Increase close rates.
Yeah.
Shorten sales cycles. Boost customer satisfaction. It all starts with, really figuring out what success actually looks like for your organization.
Exactly. Your objectives are going to determine the metrics that you're going to track and how you structure your entire scoring system.
Okay, so let's say your main goal is to increase your close rates. Well, then you'd want to focus on those metrics that directly impact that outcome.
Right, so things like objection handling, questioning skills, and those crucial closing techniques.
So for objection handling, you're looking at how effectively reps are addressing customer concerns and turning those no's into yeses. With questioning skills, you want to see if they're asking those open-ended questions that really uncover customer needs and challenges, if they're actively listening, and if they're tailoring their responses appropriately. And of course, you've got those closing techniques. Are they guiding the conversation towards that next step? Are they clearly articulating the value? And are they confidently asking for the business?
Exactly. It's all about aligning your metrics with your specific goals and then using them to objectively evaluate each and every call.
Right, and let's not forget those qualitative factors as well. Things like the tone of voice, empathy, and building rapport. Those can be just as important as the numbers sometimes.
Absolutely. They can really make or break a deal.
Okay, so we've defined our objectives. We've chosen our metrics. Now, how do we actually set up a scoring system?
There are a few different approaches here. You can use a simple point-based system where you assign points to different behaviors and actions. For example, asking a really good discovery question might be worth 5 points, while handling an objection effectively might be worth 10.
Straightforward enough. But I imagine it gets pretty complex when you're dealing with a lot of different metrics.
It can, and that's where those AI-powered call scoring tools come in. They really streamline the process by analyzing the calls based on your criteria and generating scores automatically. They also provide really detailed insights into rep performance, highlighting strengths, and those areas for improvement.
So it's not just about getting a score. It's about getting that actionable feedback that reps can actually use.
Right. Some AI tools even go so far as offering personalized coaching recommendations based on each rep's specific needs. It's like having that virtual sales coach available 24/7.
That takes all the guesswork out of coaching. And it ensures that your reps are getting that targeted guidance they need to actually succeed. I know what some of our listeners might be thinking, though. All this sounds great, but these AI tools are pretty expensive, right?
That's a valid concern. While it's true that they can have a higher upfront cost, it's crucial to consider that long-term ROI. Think about the time you're going to save on manual call reviews, the increased sales productivity, the revenue that you'll get from having a more skilled team, and the improved customer experience, which leads to higher retention and loyalty.
It's an investment. When you factor in all those benefits, the cost becomes much more justifiable.
Exactly. And keep in mind that technology is always evolving, so these costs will likely come down over time.
We've covered a lot of ground here, Nova. We've defined call scoring, we've explored the benefits, we've outlined some of the best practices for implementation, but there's more to come. In part 3, we're going to be looking at real-world examples of companies using call scoring to crush their sales goals, and we'll discuss those potential pitfalls to avoid. So stay with us. Welcome back to the deep dive. In this final part, we're bringing it all together. We've talked about what call scoring is, why it matters, and some of the key strategies for implementation. But now, let's zoom in on how this all plays out in the real world.
Yeah, let's see these concepts in action.
Nova, you ready to share some success stories with our listeners?
Absolutely.
Okay, who's out there just knocking it out of the park with call scoring?
One company that comes to mind immediately is Gong. They've become a real leader in this space, and they're using AI to not only analyze individual sales calls, but also refine their entire sales strategy.
I've heard great things about Gong. What exactly are they doing that's so innovative?
They're leveraging AI to identify those subtle patterns and insights that can make a huge difference in sales performance. For example, Gong's AI can analyze thousands of calls to determine which messaging resonates best with customers, which questions lead to higher conversion rates, and even which sales tactics are becoming less effective over time.
So it's like having a data-driven feedback loop
Right.
that's constantly optimizing their sales process.
Exactly.
And what kind of results are they seeing?
Their customers report significant improvements in their close rates, deal sizes, and even a reduction in their sales cycles.
That's impressive. It sounds like they're really leveraging the power of AI to gain a competitive edge. What about other companies? Who else is out there innovating with call scoring?
Another great example is Chorus.ai. They're another major player in the conversational intelligence world, but they're taking a slightly different approach.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's their secret sauce?
Chorus is laser-focused on identifying and replicating best practices. They're using AI to analyze calls and pinpoint those specific behaviors and phrases that consistently lead to successful outcomes. And here's the key. They're using that data to create a library of winning sales plays that their reps can access and learn from.
It's by giving your sales team a playbook
Yeah.
filled with proven tactics and strategy.
Exactly. Instead of just telling reps what to do, Chorus is showing them how to do it by providing real-world examples from their top performers.
So instead of saying, hey, build rapport or handle objections effectively, you're actually showing them how those top performers are doing it in actual conversations.
Right. It's learning by example.
That makes a lot of sense, and it also helps to create a more consistent and predictable sales process across the entire organization. So you're not relying on individual reps to reinvent the wheel every single time. You're giving them a proven framework to follow.
Exactly.
It's all about, democratizing success and making sure everyone has access to the tools and the strategies that work.
I agree.
Okay, Nova, you've convinced me. Call scoring, especially when powered by AI, is a game changer. But, not every implementation is going to be a home run.
True.
What are some of the common pitfalls that sales leaders should watch out for?
That's a great question, and it's important to be aware of the potential challenges so you can avoid those common mistakes. First and foremost, don't try to boil the ocean. Start with a small set of metrics that are directly relevant to your most important goals. There's no need to overwhelm your reps with a super complex scoring system right out of the gate.
Keep it simple, start small, and build from there.
Exactly. The second pitfall to avoid is a lack of buy-in from your team. If reps feel like call scoring is being used to punish them or to micromanage their every move, they're going to resist it.
It has to be about empowerment, not control.
Right. It's crucial to create a culture of learning and continuous improvement where everyone feels safe and supported. And that leads us to the third pitfall. Don't just focus on the negative. Call scoring should be used to highlight both strengths and weaknesses. Celebrate those wins, and use them as coaching opportunities for the rest of the team.
It's about creating a positive and supportive learning environment.
Yeah.
Where everyone feels encouraged to grow and develop their skills.
Absolutely. And finally, never forget the human element. AI is an incredibly powerful tool, but it's not a magic bullet. It can't replace human judgment and intuition. Use AI to provide those insights and that guidance, but ultimately it's up to the sales leaders and the coaches to interpret the data and provide that personalized support that each rep needs.
That's such an important point, Nova. AI can give us the data, but it's up to us as humans to use that data wisely and create a culture where everyone feels valued and empowered.
Will said. It's all about finding that balance between technology and that human connection.
Well, Nova, this has been an incredible deep dive into the world of call scoring. You've shared so much valuable information with our listeners, and I know they're going to walk away with some actionable insights that they can implement right away.
I hope so.
Any final thoughts or words of wisdom before we sign off?
If you're not already using call scoring, I urge you to start exploring it. The technology is constantly evolving and the benefits are undeniable. With the right approach and the right tools, call scoring can truly unlock the full potential of your sales team and help you achieve those ambitious goals.
That's a great takeaway. Thank you so much for joining us today, Nova. It's been a pleasure learning from you.
Likewise.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into call scoring. We hope you found this episode valuable and that you're ready to take your sales game to the next level. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep crushing those sales goals.